Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I'm your host, Cody Kelly. Look, it is the fall time. I had to bring out my Eddie Murphy early 1990s turtleneck boomerang style because I just feel like that right now. I have an amazing episode with an amazing guest. We're going to get into the top 20 sports commentators. You know why? Because they rate people all day. That's what they get paid to do. They tell you who the top 5 quarterbacks are, top 5 point guards, top 5 basketball players, top 5 baseball players. But nobody ever takes the time to assess them. So we are going to assess the top 20 talent in sports commentary. So I invited amazing guests, the Right Reverend Maurice. He's an amazing sports aficionado. I asked him to be on the show. I appreciate him. But if you want to keep seeing amazing content and amazing episodes like this is a new season, so you got to do 3 things. The first thing is follow me on Instagram at CVMK33. Connect with me on YouTube. Subscribe at Cody Vernon Kelly, CV space K. We're all great content is seen, heard, and felt. And if God uses you to sow a seed, I'm not even going to say He's going to turn it around for you, but He's going to turn it around for me if you sow these seeds. So support a brother, send your cash app or send me money from your cash app. And I appreciate it however we get down. But I want to get into it because this has been a pivotal thing for me. And I'm going to introduce my guest, but I want to start here just in my introductions. You know, I love sports. All sports. It don't matter if it's ESPN, if it's Fox, if it's ABC, if it's CBS. I just love sports. But isn't it a little disingenuous that the ones analyzing the game never get evaluated themselves? I think the fans should have the authority to evaluate the talent. And that's how it should work. It should be a full circle. So I invited the good Reverend on here because I know not only does he have the anointing, he has a sports mind. And with that, I'll introduce you. Maurice, how you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Good to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Oh, amazing, man. I'm glad to have you.
Yes, sir.
Look, top 20.
Yes, sir.
I want to kick this off. We'll go my 5, Maurice's 5, and then we'll debate what's without. Then the next 5. For a second.
Go from the bottom up.
Yeah, let's do that from the bottom up.
Yeah. And
Starting
and I'm taking notes because I must confess that this wasn't the easiest task when when you sit down and think about it. I had to go back, man, over my life and like, oh man, but we're gonna give it a go.
Appreciate it. So we go from the bottom up. My number 20 person in sports commentary is Timothy Tebow. The reason why Tim Tebow is number 20, Tim Tebow is a walking Instagram moment. People just like him, good or bad. He's Instagrammable. I won't say he's controversial, but he just takes attention. Tim Tebow could talk about, basketball and people would just gravitate or go against Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow, whether you like it or not, he has the it factor. The camera gravitates toward him. And that's a lot of it. You can have a lot of good information to share, but if people don't like you, it doesn't mean a thing. Tim Tebow has likability. Now, you can say what you want about his NFL professional career. At least he made it to the NFL. But the thing that makes him consistent is that you want to see Tebow. I don't want to go too long without seeing Tim Tebow. I don't even know why. I don't even know. It doesn't like it. It's just you just feel more comfortable, if Tim Tebow's in the room. So I'm gonna go with Tim Tebow as number 20. Number 19, Molly Quaran Rose. Molly's an amazing co-host with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. Molly knows her stuff. Molly is talented and really stands her ground. And what I like about Molly is she goes against sass. She doesn't always agree with what Stephen A. Smith says. She, says, no, we're not. She really holds firm to her beliefs. She doesn't allow Max, who was on the show as a former co-host. They don't, run over Molly. Molly is strong. I like Molly. I wish they would give Molly more of an opportunity to do other things because Molly is multi-hyphenated, multi-talented. But Molly holds her own. Number 19. Number 18, because good things come in twos. Her partner, her husband, Jaylen Rose. Jaylen Rose is the truth. I love Jaylen because I feel like Jaylen has stories that can't be aired on TV. Jaylen has inside knowledge that only him and a select few others have, particularly within the NBA ranks. Jaylen Rose can do no wrong. And Jaylen Rose has bumped heads against Stephen A. Smith. Jaylen Rose has bumped heads against Skip Bayless. Jaylen Rose has bumped heads against Kendrick Perkins. Jaylen low-key will come and check you and be so nice about it. He is nice, nasty all the way. I love Jaylen Rose. Number 17, and I got one more, and this is my 5. Number 17, Kenny the Jet Johnson. It was hard because when you come to the TNT crew, there's 3 to 5 personalities, depending on who's sitting at that desk, but it's mostly Kenny, Ernie, Shaq, and Charles. Right. And Kenny is consistent. Kenny's not hilarious. Kenny's not the most charming fellow, but Kenny is consistent. You're going to get Kenny to run to the screen every show. You're going to get Kenny to beat Shaq to the screen every show. And Kenny's going to say something thought-provoking. Kenny is what I would call a good assistant pastor. Kenny really is. Kenny the Jet Smith.
Right on.
He's my number 16. And number 16, and I'll conclude, and I'll turn it over to Maurice, Ernie Johnson. Ernie is the captain that holds the ship together because that show would fall apart. If Ernie wasn't there, there'd be no structure. Ernie has been doing this forever. I mean, Ernie was doing commentary, especially NBA, TNT, when it wasn't even popular, when people weren't staying up past the game to watch the post-show analysis. Yeah. You could arguably say that Ernie has created a genre within sports analysts. I mean, there's only a few people really that you would want to tune in just to hear. And Ernie Johnson really is just a standout guy, and he really rounds out my bottom 5 and the top 20 list.
Gotcha. Well, excellent start, man. And I'm gonna tell you again, my thinking, man, I got too deep, man. I started thinking back to my childhood up until 9, and just thinking about some of my favorite sports moments. And so I started, loading them in. So in the order, not until I get to the top 10 do I really feel comfortable on this is it. So number 20. Mike Tarico. I like Mike Tarico. I like his delivery. And to me, I don't know his sports background. I should have looked him up. I just think he's a guy that loves sports. I don't think he's ever played at a high level, but he manages those personalities, man. He had Michael Irvin, Randy Moss, all these guys. He managed the personalities, managed the conversation. Always like him. I'm going to go old school. Again, coming up, watching Monday Night Football, Al Michaels and his other partner, I would say those guys, but they were Monday Night Football for years. I love them. Number 18, I like this guy. Controversial, but I love him. Jim Rome. I like him. Jim Rome is a controversial guy, loud, off the chain. Love it. 17. You know what? I really love this person's commentary, Doris Burke.
Yeah.
I think she's underrated. I think she should get a lot more play. I think she's knowledgeable about the game. She don't say too many things that you be like, I think she is solid. I think she's a solid commentator. And 16, classic again, old school. I'm going back to my Monday Night Football days, John Madden.
I agree. I like the list.
Football game named after him. And again, that's one of my classic picks right there.
I like it. I actually forgot about John Madden. He gets an honorable mention in there. Him and Pat Summerall should have got somehow at least an honorable mention. I totally forgot about John Madden. John, please forgive me. I think Doris should have been ranked a little higher.
Yeah,
I would put her in the bottom rung.
I'm gonna tell you again how I got started getting like, emotional on my sports, experience in those moments, and that's kind of where that top 10 kind of landed for me. So, but yeah, she's in that top 20, and I can say anywhere between 10 and 20 she could go.
That's fair. No complaints. I don't even have a thing. I totally forgot about Jim Rome because Jim Rome he's kind of like the Bill Maher of sports analysts. Jim just brought heat. And he's got into it with a lot of different people. And I think that's Jim's stick. He just likes bumping heads with folks. So I'm not even mad at Jim Rome. I actually agree. The bottom thing. Doris, definitely 10 to 20. She falls in that spot. You'll see what I have Doris at. Doris is a low-key killer, though. Doris Burke.
I like it.
Yeah, shout out to Doris Burke. Just amazing. My next 5. So we're going from 15 to 11. Shaq at number 15. Shaq as a sports commentator, he's not insightful. Let me talk about the flaws of Shaq, and these are his strengths. He does not have any analytical understanding whatsoever. He is not insightful. He says nothing profound that really sticks out. And the third thing is he doesn't really do a great job of breaking down the why. The reason why Shaq is so believable because he is a champion. He knows what he's talking about. He has in-depth knowledge and experience, so you can't ever question Shaq. And there's nobody on earth funnier than Shaq when it comes to evaluating other talent because Shaq talks like he's in the locker room with you and that he literally like he would say that to your face. And I think him and Charles Barkley, their parody, their constant interactions, even when it gets out of hand and they're throwing chicken at each other, that's what makes Shaq so amazing is because what can you say to Shaq? Like if Shaq said like, no, they're going to win by 15, Shaq is a literal giant. Like in every sense of the word, he's intimidating. He's a literal giant. So Shaq at number 15 rounds it out. Charles Barkley at number 14. You can't have salt without the pepper. Charles Barkley is a staple on NBA TNT. He's a staple in sports analyst. If you ask Charles Barkley his opinion on anything, whether you like it or not, he gonna just tell you the truth. Charles don't understand analytics. He can't pronounce half the NBA players' names, but Charles is magic on screen. He doesn't even try. It's effortless for him. Charles Barkley's my number 14. My number 13, Carey champion. Yes, that was a sleeper. A lot of people didn't see coming. Carey is an amazing talent who I think, in my professional opinion, got the short end of a stick. Carey champion to me, and I've listened to her. I listened to her on the Breakfast Club. You can't tell me Carey champion should not. And I get it. She has a show on Vice Sports with Jamil Hill. But you cannot tell me that Carey does not deserve her own show, that she cannot carry the thing by herself. Carey champion is a standout talent with a lot of sports knowledge. I remember she had the show on Sports Nation with Marcellus Wiley. Amazing job. Carey champion. Her, I think, her stock has dropped because she's not as visible because she's no longer with, the ESPN affiliate. She's no longer with Disney. But Carey champion is amazing talent. Number 12, Max Kellerman. You can say what you want. Max does his homework, y'all. I know people give Max a lot of flack for just his basketball reviews. Max Kellerman does his homework. And to me, Max actually tries to fit in the vision of whatever the show is supposed to be. It took a lot for somebody to step in the shoes of Skip Bayless. Yeah. Notice how they haven't filled that position since. It's because it's Skip Bayless. Max came in, was there 3+ years, and really, he didn't become the heir apparent, obviously, but he really, I think, held down the fort, really was a Robin to a Batman as Stephen A. Smith. Shout out to Max Kellerman doing his thing with Keyshawn and Jay Will. Number 11, and this is where I end. His stock is rising. People asleep on this man. I don't follow everybody on Instagram and Twitter. I barely follow people on Instagram, and I sure enough don't follow people on Twitter. But I follow this man on 2 platforms because I like who he is as a sports commentator and who he is as a person. Shout out to Nick Wright. Nick Wright is number 11. His stock is rising. Nick Wright is a LeBron apologist like me. Nick Wright understands basketball. Nick Wright understands sports. You can say what you want, but Nick Wright has enough confidence to go head-to-head with Stephen A. Smith. He doesn't back down. He doesn't even look to get vocally charged up. He can stay in his way. Nick Wright is the Don Rickles. I don't want to say Don Rickles because that might be but Mr. Wars. He's not Don Rickles, but Nick Wright is a legend in the making.
I like Nick.
That's my next 5.
I like Nick. Okay. Now I may have to make a choice because of what I did with one of USC. Because I couldn't separate. So 15.
Okay.
I got Tony Romo. I must agree. I did not think that he would be that good. I'm gonna tell you, I thought it was gonna be a crash and burn. Like he's gonna be just fill it in. But the guy's good. He is good, and he is on his way to being, I think, unequivocally live football broadcast. He is gonna be like that guy. If not, he's top 3, right now. I just think that's what he is. So I enjoy him. 14, I put the TNT crew. Now, if I gotta pick somebody,
I got you.
Because I couldn't necessarily see one above. I think they complement each other so well. I guess I'll give it to Ernie to represent because he's the balancer. He keeps, everybody in check. But to your point, Kenny Smith is the ultimate assistant pastor.
Yeah.
The guy he's Switzerland. So he keeps it fresh, and he always points it back to Ernie. Get it back to Ernie. Get it back to Ernie. So TNT Crew 14. 13. And now this is as of early on, but as of late, the last 4 years, especially with the podcast thing, Colin Howard.
Yes.
That guy, man, I love his commentary. I love the way he interviews. I love the way he leads off his shows with his opinion. Just his vernacular and the way he approaches it. I love it. Number 12, Chris Broussard. I love his energy. I love his knowledge. And it's like that, like he lived next door to you. Like
right.
He don't talk like up on the show. Right. He talk like he lived like you could walk out the house, knock on his door, y'all can go barbecue in the back and talk sports. That's the kind of feeling I get about Chris Broussard. I enjoy him. And then number 11 is a classic guy. And again, as of late, the podcast thing, man, really gave me a better appreciation of how he interviews and the interviews he gets. He gets interviews I think a lot of people don't get, and that's Dan Patrick on ESPN. So that's my next 5.
I like it. I like the list a lot. I like how you combine the TNT crew. I should have done that because I would have opened up a spot for me.
I just couldn't. Neither one of them kind of to be. So I gotta give it to him as a unit.
No, I probably should have done the same because I probably should have put Dan Patrick in there. Sorry, Dan. Honorable mention of Dan Patrick. I did not include you on any of my lists. So here's the thing. So this is where I disagree with part of your list. Tony Romo is great at football. I don't think he could do basketball.
No, I don't.
I don't think he could do golf. I don't think he could do tennis.
I think he could do golf. But I think
maybe golf. Yeah,
the reason why I put him on there is I think he's gonna be number 1 in football. And if you number 1 in a sport, I think you get a spot. Not overall across the genre, but I think he's gonna be number 1 in football, like the guy.
Tony Romo's good. I'm not gonna let Tony Romo's good. I think why I have a problem with Tony Romo. This is my problem with Tony Romo. I think about all those years as watching those Dallas Cowboy games.
As a player,
you're right, as a player, and I get upset all over again when I look at him.
Why you didn't do this stuff you said on the field?
Right.
And that's the same thing. But when I listen to it, I'm like, man, this guy is good. Like, man, I'm like, okay, man, Tony Romo got this game cool. I'm gonna enjoy it. Like, this guy is good. And like you said though, as a player, it's like, why you didn't transfer this knowledge on the field that you seem to have from this bird's eye view? But so he can go. He's 15, so he can slip back down to that bottom. Like him and Doris is interchangeable. Like Doris can take his spot.
Can switch up
on the list, to move her closer up.
I agree. I would agree with that trade. I think Tony Romo definitely has to go. I just, I get mad, like I said, because literally I look at his career and I see him in this, and it's like, you can't be this talented and it didn't translate on the field. But I get it. I mean, obviously that's a dumb probably assessment, but Tony Romo just makes me upset. I think about the missed opportunity. So Tony Romo, but I agree with the other parts of the list. I think the TNT group is one specific unit. It's hard to detach them. I took up, part of my bottom with them. I should have put Patrick definitely in there. I've left him off. My thing about him, I think he's knowledgeable. I think he's amazing talent. He's a guru. He's very Howard Cosell, monotone, delivery, smooth.
Yep.
But when I think about when I follow a guy on Twitter, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he Twitterable? Yeah. Is he make you want to wake up and be like, I like that?
I think, like you said, it's more for me watching the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think this guy gets some interviews.
He does.
Other people don't. And then he gets questions answered that I think other people don't. I think he has a respect level out there that's hard to be compared.
No, you're right. I mean, he has clout. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. He's been in the space a while, so he can demand that type of audience. So I'm not hating on him. I don't know if I'll put him in my top 20. But let's see. Starting from my 10 to 7, I'm going with, you mentioned the podcast space. I think right now the hottest sports podcast, there's 3 of them. There's All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Captain Jack. I did not include them, but they do get an honorable mention. They have done their homework. They're rising, especially Matt Barnes and Captain Jack. They're really doing their thing. Shout out to them. Get me on the show. Who else in the podcast space is really born? I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall, Fred Taylor, Channing, and them guys. I mean, they're, to me, opening up the discussion, particularly around the sport of football. But if there's one person to me that has literally done their homework, they've put it on their shoulders, it is Shannon Sharp. Club Shay Shay comes in at number 10 because Shannon Sharp really is that guy. If you hear a siren, this is Chicago, so we get live here. There's no telling what's going on out there.
You like it all time.
But Shannon Sharp, what I like about Shannon left the network, went to another network, co-host with a giant, and he didn't just become a co-host. He didn't just, I'm going to collect the check. Yeah, yep. He took the challenge. He did his homework. He became knowledgeable, and you have seen his progression over the years. And then he's ventured off on other thing with the start of the podcast. I mean, we're getting DeMar DeRozan on this thing, get Allen Iverson. I mean, his wealth of connectivity is there, and a lot of people trust Shannon. Shannon is not going to pull punches. So I give it to Shannon Sharp. I think when it comes to somebody putting in the work, Shannon Sharp definitely rounds out at number 10. His stock is rising. My number 9, and I know she caught a lot of flack, but if you look at the resume, I'm not saying what she said she was wrong, but when you look at the resume,
look at the work.
Rachel Nichols has a spot in the top 20.
She's good.
Rachel Nichols from NBA Jump. I mean, a lot of players vibe with Rachel Nichols. I'm not saying she was told she was wrong. But Rachel Nichols has a resume that you have to look at when it comes to sports commentary. Rachel Nichols can handle her own. She was on All the Smoke podcast, was phenomenal on that. So was Jeannie Buss. Shout out, because Jeannie was the only owner on All the Smoke podcast. And I know that took some gall because that's a pretty, that could be ratchet at times.
That's a tough spot, yeah.
Right. So shout out to Jeannie Buss, but Rachel Nichols is definitely number 9. Number 8. Doris Burke, NBA guru. To me, she's the best sideline commentator in all of the NBA. I call her the voice of the game. And that's just my personal opinion. I think Doris Burke does a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
When Doris is commentating on the game is lively, it's fun, it's interactive. I think Doris, Mark Jackson, my God, the other coach, can't think, Jeff. Is it Grundy? Not Grundy.
Van Gundy.
Van Gundy. I say Grundy. Van Gundy. I think they have an amazing just chemistry and casting with Reggie Miller, but nobody does it better than Doris Burke. Number 7, excuse me. Number 7, Colin Howard. People are asleep on how good Colin Howard is.
That's another one I struggle breaking into my top 10. I'll explain it later, but he's great.
He's great. He has the podcast and the radio segment down pat. Like, he literally can start his show off. He can do his own monologue and jump into a commercial. Like, his modality is ridiculous. You can't, to me, box Colin Howard in. And you can say what you want. Colin could be, super, whatever you need him to be. And then Colin can switch it up. Colin has versatility. Colin is talented. And Colin talks about some real life things. You got to really listen to what Colin is saying. Colin Howard definitely rounds out at number 7 on my next 5. And then my number 6, which is my last one, he doesn't get enough credit. He's been on TV, it seems like, forever. Everybody, to me, always overlooks this person. Michael Wilbon.
Wow.
Michael Wilbon, as a journalist, stands head and shoulders. Shout-town and you're right, Chicago Tribune. I mean, Michael Wilbon is somebody. Wow. He's been on part of the interruption for like the last 20 years. Yeah. Michael Wilbon has credentials, and I know he's kind of, I won't say aged out. I would never say, but I think sometimes people forget about how good Michael Wilbon really is. But Michael Wilbon is that guy. That's my next 5.
Yeah. All right. I love the next 5. Mike Wilbon is not on my list, and that's somebody I gotta ask to forgive me. I love PTI, Kornheiser, and Wilbon. I love when Wilbon calls in to ESPN 1000 every week with the score. Every week. It has that. I mean, he does it. I think it's a Wednesday. He does it on ESPN 1000 and does a radio spot with those guys. With what's the wide receiver for the Bears? He used to be forget his name. Waddle and Sylvie.
Okay.
And so shout out, honorable mention for me, definitely to Mike Wilbon. So this last 10, it's all of a kind of either an emotional thread. It's either a great sports moment that I can't escape and I will not apologize for, or I found myself imitating them doing sports things. So number 10 is Stuart Scott.
Yeah.
I got Stuart Scott there. We know it's going to be an emotional piece because of, how things, the way things ended and not, so not we would liked it. But I thought what he brought to the game of broadcasting as a black man, and he wasn't so much step and fetch it, but you felt that he was real with his presentation, and he was giving those colloquialisms and that using that jargon that we would use, and he was putting it in the right format. You didn't feel like he was just kind of putting on, I'm gonna be the token guy and say these token minority African American laced type of reactions just to get that feel. You felt the authenticity, and always loved him. Always loved him. So Stuart Scott. Number 9, this is my guy, SVP. Scott Van Pelt. For no reason alone, he got the Mississippi Mass Choir as his theme music.
That's true.
On his show.
That's true.
On his show. And, it's, man, again, it's just one of those things, like, you got to have that guy. The way he interviews players, he gets around, like, between him, Doris, Burke, and maybe, I don't know. Them two are the best ones to interview Greg Popovich the best.
Yeah.
Because Greg Popovich will curb you.
Yeah.
He'll do away with you quickly. But those two, I love SVP, especially when he interviews players. I think he does that in a great way. Number 8, I gotta have him. Dick Vitale.
Oh.
Diaper Daddy. PTPer. I gotta have Dickie V on my top 10. Just March Madness, the whole thing. He personifies college commentating for me for basketball. Dickie V. Now we're about to get a little personal. So number 7, Carey. Growing up, Cubs fan on the South Side. That's all I do. My grandfather told me that the White Sox wasn't real baseball. The Cubs was the only baseball team in Chicago. And I watched Harry Carey. I can remember 1989 when they first got lights at Wrigley Field. It was a rain-out game. But Harry Carey talked for an hour straight, and they showed on field. I watched Harry Carey, those thick black rim glasses. Harry Carey at number 7. At number 6, every morning, riding into Joliet, I will listen to this broadcast. Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick. I'll give it to Mike Greenberg, but every morning riding to Joliet, I will listen to Greedy and Mike Golick. I would get a nod to Mike Greenberg. I love that show. That would take me on a 40-mile drive every morning to Joliet for work. I listen to Mike Greenberg. So that's my 10 through 6.
I like the list. Honestly, you had me rethinking my 20. If I combine the TNT cast into one, I could add Greeny and Scott Van Pelt. Yeah, look, I like Dickie V. I think Dick Vitale is the voice of college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, you thinking what a couple of words, like you think of just his whole aura,
whole persona,
yeah, he is really that guy. But when I think of overall, if it's not Saturday morning, would I listen to Dick Vitale? I don't know. And I get and granted Dick's old now, but in his prime, Dickie V was somebody, just a monster. I'll give him an honorable mention. Harry Carey. I want to apologize to all Cubs fans, all Chicagoans. As a Chicagoan who lives in Chicago, I should have had Harry Carey somewhere on this list, and I totally ignored this is why I ignored Harry Carey. But by the time I came about, Harry was kind of out.
Stayed too long.
Yeah. And I feel like I would have to include him and Howard Cosell, and that's a generation I'm just not that familiar with outside of Muhammad Ali, right? So, I give an honorable mention. Scott Van Pelt, though, definitely deserves honorable mention. He did not make my top 20. I love Scott. I support the Ball brothers. But Scott Van Pelt is a juggernaut in itself. The host of a show that starts at 10 p.m. and basically lasts to like 3 a.m.
You kick it off with a gospel song.
Right. Hey, I give it to Scott Van Pelt because he works the midnight shift at ESPN and he holds it down. So shout out to Scott Van Pelt. Not mad at that. For my top 5, we're going to start it off, and I totally agree. Stuart Scott. We could talk about Ryan Clark, Swagoo, Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith. Before all of them, Jackson, I can't even think. It's Jim Jackson. Yeah, before all of them, before, you didn't really have a strong black male presence in sports commentary. Stuart Scott paved the way.
Yep.
I mean, like you said, colloquialisms, the stuff that we would say in a barbershop, Stuart Scott would do. He held his own.
Yep.
Had an unfortunate, demise and whatnot. But Stuart Scott he's a legend. And shout out to Stuart Scott and the legacy of Stuart Scott. Number 5. Number 4, this person has been forgotten about, but this person is true fire. I wish ESPN had this person again because they made the 6th the show. This person to me had the only out of all ESPN, if there's somebody that could have dethroned Stephen A. Smith as far as go see box office, it's none other than Jamil Juanita Hill. Jamil Hill is somebody's somebody. And the problem is she doesn't get enough plug. I remember she came on, man, like she was like, like one of the moderators on First Take. And she was so much, I think Skip and they just didn't know how to handle it, right? Like Jamil Hill is amazing. I think she works with Undefeated now. I know she's got her own podcast. I know she does this thing with Carey. Jamil Hill is amazing. Shout out. I would love to intern for Jamil Hill. I mean, Jamil Hill, when it comes to journalism, is there. My number 3, and he was on my podcast, and I'm going to go on a limb and say he's a personal friend of mine. This brother right here, stock is rising. He can go to any network. He can do any show. He can talk about any sport. Not only is the anointing on his life, he just has the plug. People want to see him. He's box office. None other than Chris Broussard. If Chris Broussard is on your show, people are going to listen. Chris Broussard, to me, his stock is rising. His depth of knowledge, players like him. I mean, his reputation is good. People like this dude. I mean, I know personally, man, he treats you the same. It doesn't matter if you're a podcast person with 50 subscribers or you got 3 million. Chris Broussard is the real deal. Chris Broussard is number 3 right now, top 20 commentators that's currently out. Number 2, none other than John Edward Skip Bayless. People can hate Skip, but Skip can get you hired and fired. Skip has real talk, right? If Skip said, if Skip vouches for you, especially in the media industry, you good as gold. Yeah. I mean, he vouched for Shannon. I mean, Skip Bayless, bro, Skip is the plug. Skip knows what he's talking about. And I know, Skip to be 69, Skip hasn't slowed down. Skip is a guru. Rappers like Skip Bayless, I see Lil Wayne and Skip all the time. I'm like, what's going on? Skip can literally make or break you as an athlete. Skip Bayless has what I would call that Howard Cosell effect. And then the number 1 commentator right now that's out who moves the needle that you can't just get your head around. If this guy right here, he could talk about golf, basketball, tennis, hockey, soccer, boxing. He could come to your church. He could come to your HBCU. This guy right here knows no limitation. He is fire. And the problem is he know it. He is the best one out there right now, Stephen A. Smith. You can say what you want. You might not like Stephen A. Smith, but if Stephen A. Smith says something, he's 100,000 views with every syllable he says. He is that dynamic, that box office, that multi-talented. Stephen A. Smith to sports is what I'm gonna be careful when I say this. Stephen A. Smith to sports commentary is what Michael Jordan is to basketball. And that's my top 5.
Okay. Oh, love it. Now, this top 5, man, is going to hit again some of my favorite sports moments ever, and then just downright, I just like it. I just like them. Okay, number 5, Bryant Gumbel. And Bryant Gumbel, again, I'm on the back half of our generation. So a lot of people tell me I'm the quintessential Gen Xer because I'm on the bottom end. I'm born in 78. But they say I'm right in the fringe of being a millennial, so they like I'm in between a lot of stuff. So I am a big fan of Bryant Gumbel for one reason alone: the Olympics. Man, the way he would handle growing up, late 80s, 90s, man, interviewing Carl Lewis, when we would watch swimming, Matt Biondi. This is before Michael Phelps and all those guys. Like watching the Olympics, man, we would watch every day of the Olympic Games. And Bryant Gumbel having that spot on, I think it was NBC, that in the Village Olympic, man. Can't beat it. Number 4, this guy, again, I'm going, personal, by experience. This guy is the big dog. I've never seen nobody do it this way, so brash, but so true. And he can't be stopped. He is the kingmaker right now. He is number 1 right now. That's Stephen A. Smith. He's number 4 on my list because this hierarchy is going to build up to just my favorite sports moments. But Stephen A. Smith is the number 1 guy. Hate him, like him, whatever you think, he is that dude. Right now, he is that guy. I love him. I like him. He brash. He's like over the top, but that's him. Yeah. And he's like that, and he represents that well. I love it. And I love the way he worked, 20 plus years on the circuit. And these last 5-6 years, man, he has took the game for what it's worth. All right. So that's Stephen A. Number 3, Marv Albert. And again, I must say Marv Albert because
Jordan.
My greatest moments in sports is the Bulls championships.
Yeah.
And this top 3 is going to represent the Bulls run from 1 to number 6 because those are the highest sports moments of my life thus far. I've watched the The Last Dance probably 5 times.
I mean, same.
And I love that time. It just brought back to me how I love the way those games were commentated. And Marv Albert is on my list for that reason alone. Nothing else. Number 2, this is a personal childhood thing. But watching all the Bulls games on Channel 9 coming up every single week, every single game. It was Ray Durham. Jim Durham was the main guy, and the color commentator was Johnny Red Kerr.
Yeah, Johnny Red Kerr.
This guy would say stuff so off the wall. He would be excited about the number 15 player on the bench. Will Purdue's in the game. Let's give it up for Will. Like, this guy, until the day he stopped for the Bulls, that made the Bulls come to life, even in the times when Jordan wasn't there. Back when they had D Rose again, Johnny Red was the voice of the Bulls, and that's what sports was to me. It was the Bulls. And number 1, again, it encompasses the Olympics. It encompasses why I love tennis to this day. I heard this guy commentate tennis. I fell in love with watching the Wilbon, watch Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi go at it.
Yeah.
He would sit there and took over for Brian Gumbel at the Olympic Village. From there to Michael Phelps. Then the last run of the Bulls, that Utah Jazz run, the Phoenix, the Seattle Seahawks, the Seattle Supersonics run. My number 1 commentator all time, Bob Costas.
Watch this. Yep.
That's my list. It's a little emotional. It's a little about my upbringing, man. But that's my top 5: Gumbel, Smith, Marv Albert, Johnny Red, Bob Costas.
I'm not mad at the list. Marv Albert, he.
It's the one reason alone.
You can't talk about the Bulls. You can't talk about 90s basketball and not mention Marv Albert.
Yep. The Bulls Knicks games.
Yeah, top 5. I don't know.
It's just why that
I get it.
It's an emotional, in the moment. My favorite, as I listen to sports, these guys are nowhere near with the modern age. Except for Stephen A. You ain't followed none of them on Twitter, no podcasts, none of that. But those guys for me made sports come alive.
Now the only one I did not. Bob Costas gets an honorable mention, and I guess I should have because Bob really took over where Howard Cosell left off. He kind of was handed the mantle of because even doing commentary on boxing, Bob was everywhere. Bob, as a journalism, as a sports aficionado, Bob Costas is hands down in a class all by himself. But Bob to me is like an investigative reporter. Like he's like they said Jordan did 20. Like that's how Bob does it. Bob doesn't make you want to be like million views. And I'm not even saying that should be the success rate I used to measure it. Bob is a legend, though. There's no doubt about it. Bob Costas is an absolute legend. He's a GOAT. The only reason I don't put him in the list is because I don't have enough live memory of Bob Costas.
Yeah.
Everything I've watched of Bob Costas has been in retrospect, like in documentaries. And to me, Bob Costas is a sports documentarian. Yeah. That's where his field is, because that's how my generation got basically introduced.
I'm dating myself. When Michael Johnson broke those records in the 200 and 400 in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Bob Costas, man, when Mike, them last 3 championship runs, them last 2 specifically in Utah, Bob Costas. It was just that whole, and you're right, he got that sleuth, private eye type of tone to him. Yeah. And but yeah, man, he just, again, it's that emotional attachment to those sports moments.
I like it. Shout out to Bob Costas. He is a phenomenon. He really is a sports documentarian. He is a sports historian. Bob Costas is the Ken Burns of the sports world. When it comes to producing historical knowledge on sports, nobody can do it better than Bob Costas. But Stephen A. Smith is the king of this day. And I appreciate it. Look, this is how we get down to It Is What It Is. We take it there. We rate the evaluators. I want to give a special shout out and a special thanks to my guests. Anytime anybody does anything for you, they don't have to do it. So I appreciate you, Maurice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your top 20. I had to look at this. As a Chicagoan, I know I'm going to get in trouble. I didn't even include Johnny Red Kerr. I skipped over him and a bunch of other Chicago, him, Stacey King, the whole Chicago Sports Net cast. I skipped over all them, went straight to the top. No, but they have been amazing. They're amazing talents. They're definitely the voice of Chicago. But if you want to keep seeing amazing content and amazing things like we do tonight, you got to do 3 things. Connect with me on Instagram at CBNK33. Subscribe, y'all, to the YouTube page of Cody Vern Kelly. And I'm going to stop here and pause. I'm going to take a preacher break.
Yes, sir.
Subscribing is free. You don't even got to watch the video. All you got to do is click on the bell and the notification pop up. And it helps me to continue to do what I love to do. And third, if you just feel led, there's information below. But this has been an amazing episode. It is what it is. Watch, share, comment, like, subscribe. And until next time, guys, thanks.